Hello, dreamers, goers, and future trailblazers. Welcome to a special edition of Round Table. I'm your host, Heyang, in Shanghai. Today, we'll delve deep into one of the most important trade events of our time, the 6th China International Import Expo, also known as CIIE, and it is in full swing right here in Shanghai right now. So this expo has evolved into a remarkable platform for global collaboration as well as business opportunities, and it goes beyond just trade. It's also a fantastic place for innovation, and it's a true testament to international partnership, as well as provides a vision for the future as we can see what we are able to do and as the world comes together. For today's discussion, I am joined by two esteemed guests. Joining me are Professor Chen Yuxin, Dean of Business at NYU Shanghai, and Eric Zheng, President of the American Chamber of Commerce in Shanghai. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Heyang.
It's great to have you. And if you want to catch our show, we are on audio as well as video today, and please find us on all major platforms. Just search CGTN Radio. So let's fasten our seatbelts as we will take off into the world of international commerce. So the first question goes to you, Professor Chen.
Sure.
You've written extensively on the historic grandeur of the ancient Chang'an or the modern day Xi'an, and you've written about the role of global trade, which helps to shape its position. And how do you feel with that heritage, how does it measure up against the vibrant pulse of contemporary Shanghai?
Oh, yeah, thank you. So actually, I've been studying the issue of global consumer hub, international consumer hub, and I found that probably the most magnificent consumer hub in the ancient time is Chang'an. So probably everybody in China knows that we usually call things like Dongxi because that means east and west, because Chang'an has two markets, east market and west market. The west market in Chang'an is really huge. It has all kinds of products from Silk Road, Central Asia, even as far as away from Rome, right? Mm-hmm. So because of all those interesting products, people really had a very good life, and they meet people from all around the world. That makes Chang'an really the capital of the world at that time. Mm-hmm. So I think Shanghai now probably is ready for that role, given all the economic development and all those exciting things happening here.
Yes. And Eric, you have been living here and doing business in Shanghai, and also with your experience that comes with all of it. Do you think that Shanghai is possibly the best, if not the unique place for such a huge trade event, as well as, presenting so many opportunities for businesses, big and small, domestic and international?
Well, companies, I represent American Chamber in Shanghai, and we have over 3,000 members. Over 1,000 of those are major corporations, and they are headquartered in Shanghai and with operations around the country. I might be biased because we're based here. I would argue that Shanghai is probably the most business-friendly city in China, and if you look at its economic size, definitely it is the commercial center in China, and I think CIIE provides a great platform for international companies to showcase their products and services in China. So we are very bullish about Shanghai.
Indeed. And if you're Chinese, then when you speak of Shanghai, then immediately the business-oriented minds or perspective is something that people automatically would associate the city with. And also, Professor Chen,
yes.
One thing you wrote in a recent paper really caught my attention. Okay, so in colloquial Chinese, we tend to refer Shanghai to Modu, or the city of magic. And in the Chinese context, this has nothing to do with pulling a bunny out of a hat, but it has everything to do with it's perceived by Chinese people as the land of opportunity, if not for global talent to see this as a land of opportunity. As long as you work hard enough, you're smart enough, then it feels like anything is possible. And you raise an interesting point of transforming this city into the city of imagination. And I'm curious what you have to say about making that transformation a reality. What necessary steps, strategic-wise, or maybe something that everyday business can think about from different domains, can we make that transformation?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have said that Shanghai has three main characters, right? The openness, innovation, and the inclusiveness. So I think because of this openness and the innovation, so Shanghai should be and will be the center of innovation. So, and that's why it will be the center of imagination, the capital of imagination. So, and this expo actually will really help to that, because I remember there's a famous book talking about the Tang Dynasty, written by a very well-known historian, American historian. His name, I think, is Edward Sheffer. The name of the book is called The Golden Peaches of Samarkand. And at the first page of the book, he actually mentioned that the real life of imported products is in the bright world of imagination, right? Because through the trading, through the exchange of culture, through the interactions of people, I think that will really stimulate imagination, stimulate innovations. And so Shanghai, I think, you will really be ready for that.
Also, this reminds me of an example of, tomatoes. That's something that is an everyday fruit or vegetable. It depends on how you categorize it. That is so common in Chinese cuisine. And somebody who's hardly a cook like myself will be able to make 西红柿炒鸡蛋, which is the frying pieces of tomato with egg. And tomato wasn't originally from China. It was through trade. Was it introduced from Central America to China, and now it's almost like just a very common thing that we have on our dinner table. So yes, with these kind of trade events and with all these goods that come to us, and then can that spur maybe imagination? There are so many different spheres to look at this factor. So Eric, for you, what do you think?
If I may just add a point on the importance of Shanghai, American Chamber of Commerce in Shanghai was founded in Shanghai in 1915. That was over 100 years ago. And we were the third overseas American chamber after Paris, Manila, and then Shanghai. And Shanghai was already a growing center of commerce, even in the early 20th century. And I used to run AIG, American International Group, which is an international company, global international company headquartered in New York. I was the CEO of AIG China. AIG was founded in Shanghai in 1919 on the Bund. If you go to Waitan on the Bund 17, the building is still standing. That was our old headquarters. That gives you a sense, the long history of Shanghai's function, its importance in the global commerce.
And also, the Shanghai people can be very resourceful and filled with imagination when it comes to bettering your livelihood, taking care of your family, and also just taking part in the bigger economy, because that's how it works.
Yes. So I think if they are young audience here, I think they probably will know there's a very great company in Shanghai. It's called the Youhaverse. Mihayo, right? So, and also the product, right? A lot of people actually have played that, the Genshin impacts, right? That's actually evidence or testimony for the Shanghai's, imagination and the innovation.
Yes, and it's really interesting to see how you take it to the next level in 2023. And CIIE is a wonderful stage and platform to see where all this change starts, and it's almost like showing the world that what's new and what Shanghai has to offer. Yes, and Eric, this is not the first time that the American Chamber of Commerce Shanghai has participated in CIIE. In fact, this is the 6th year that the event is being held. So how do you feel coming back to it this year?
Well, we're very excited. I personally have participated in each and every CIIE in the past 5 years, beginning going back to 2018. Back then, I was the chairman of AmCham Shanghai, and I still vividly remember the opening ceremony of the first CIIE when President Xi made the opening speech, and I was in the audience. That's certainly a memorable moment for me and for our companies. And in the past few years, we went through a difficult period because of the COVID, and the CIIE went online. So this is really the first CIIE after COVID, offline, in person, and our companies are getting ready, right? American companies have always participated in CIIE. If you look at the total number of companies, American companies always rank number 1 in terms of total number of companies. Based on Chinese statistics, we'll have over 200 companies participating in this CIIE. So we are really excited, really anxious to participate in this year's CIIE, and later on I will talk about our participation this year. First time ever that American Chamber of Commerce in Shanghai, in coordination with the U.S. government, we will organize our own American pavilion in this CIIE.
Wow, that is very exciting. And also, it's the U.S. Department of Agriculture that is working directly with you in presenting, shall I say, American companies as well as American products, and for all of us who are not able to get into the pavilion, what should we be looking out for?
Sure. As I indicated earlier, major American corporations have been there from day one, from the first CIIE, and they are in a position to do it themselves. We feel like smaller and medium-sized companies have not been able to participate actively in CIIE. So this year, we just pick one angle, which is food, beverage, and agriculture. And because CIIE is organized by industry, so different halls focusing on different industries. So we just pick hall number 1, which is agriculture and food. And then we're working with 17 partners, U.S. states, different states, trade associations that represent these SME food and agriculture companies, and also a few brand name companies themselves. So altogether, 17 companies are participating in this CIIE by showcasing their products, primarily in the food, beverage, and agriculture areas. You name it, all sorts of food products. It will be very interesting, including wine. So we invite everybody to visit our hall number 1.1. We welcome you to join us.
Yes, and you can't miss it. Yes, we know America is a big exporter of agricultural products as well, and China is a big importer in that sense, and it's great to see that the two are meeting up, and then the products can be displayed here in China, where there's going to be, where I can already see very much enthusiasm that goes to receiving all those goods.
For sure. This is definitely a win-win. Certainly, the U.S. and China are the number 1 and number 2 economies in the world, and there's certainly an element of competition between these two countries. But from our viewpoint, there are a lot of areas that these two countries can work together. So competition versus cooperation, there are a lot of space for cooperation. And agriculture is a great example. Actually, just recently, only days ago, two countries signed major deals for U.S. ag companies to export their products, billions of dollars worth of products to China. And China is a major importer of soybeans and so forth. So I think it's win-win for both sides.
Yes, and Professor Chen, you must have studied and researched in this area. And what do you see as, the most important roles that CIIE has performed? And we've just talked a lot about, with the U.S. as well as with other countries.
Right. So obviously, like CIIE provide opportunity for people around the world to share the opportunity of growth in China. But I think there's another very important aspect of it, which tend to be kind of ignored by the media. That is, CIIE also really improved the life of Chinese people, because we got products into China, then people can enjoy some novel things, and basically we're talking about leading like a happy life for people. So I think being able to access those important products will be important for people here.
Yeah. So, you certainly hit the nail on the head with this one. Isn't that the essence about trade and about comparative advantage? That here in China, when people can enjoy a wider array of different kinds of products, also at an affordable price, that just makes things so much better. Right. And I think in the U.S., folks are enjoying something similar, with so many different choices of goods at very good quality and at a cheaper price. Who's to say no to that?
Yeah, even for products with like the high price, the people may like it. Like some luxury products, also they are like followers for that.
Yes, I suppose my wallet has limited my imagination or immediate reaction, so to speak. Yeah.
The interesting about CIIE is the major trade show that focuses on imports, right? If you look around the world, all those trade shows promote exports. But this is the one that focuses only on imports. And going all the way back to 2018, when President Xi actually initiated this idea of this import expo. And I think it's becoming a very important platform, not only to showcase foreign products and services, but also to demonstrate to the world that China continues to be open to the outside world. I think that element is very critical too.
And this also really will help the domestic consumption and the domestic economy of China, right? Because people got this new idea from the imported products. Like you give the example of tomato. That more recent example is like a coffee. Right now we have like a coffee with Maotai, like hard liquor, Chinese hard liquor here, right? Yeah. This kind of innovation, coming from like the mix of like a different culture, like a mix of different products from around the world. I think that is really the wonderful aspect of this CIIE that can bring to us.
Funny that you brought that up. I can't think of a better place to talk about coffee in China, because in Shanghai, this is the capital for coffee. And when you just take a little stroll around any neighborhood, there are established brands of coffee houses, as well as numerous boutique cafes, and people take it very seriously here in making coffee and appreciating coffee. And that's just one of the many examples of why certain businesses should start here in Shanghai and why it takes root here in Shanghai when the popularity spreads to like other places in this country. And also, Eric, you mentioned something about, this is the first time that the United States federal government is getting involved in showcasing products in the CIIE. And this has definitely been seen as an important signal in the eyes of people. Do you have some thoughts about that, really? How important, what a big deal is it, really?
I think it is important. It's a signal that the two countries do recognize the importance of trade. When you look at the bilateral trade between the U.S. and China, last year, the total amount, we're talking about goods, exports, and imports, amounted to $700 billion US dollars, very significant. For the U.S., last year, it exported over $150 billion US dollars worth of goods to China. On top of that, also 40 billion service exports to China. So China is a very important market for the U.S. Certainly, China enjoys a trade surplus with the U.S., but the China market is growing and with a lot of potential. So hopefully, the U.S. side will recognize this, and I think this is a good sign. I remember back in 2010 during the Shanghai Expo, we, American Chamber in Shanghai, was actually the host of the American Pavilion, right? With some support from the State Department, from the U.S., but we were the host on behalf of the U.S. But this time, it's a joint effort. So when you look at this, it's the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which is part of the U.S. federal government, and American Chamber in Shanghai. We jointly host this official American Pavilion focusing on ag products. So this is pretty significant in my view.
Yes. I just want to add that trade is not just about exchange of products and the service. It's also about exchange of like culture and ideas and also communication among people. So typically, if you look back history, people follow the trade, but then trade follow people. So I think they basically kind of reinforce each other, and the culture exchange and the trade exchange.
Indeed, and also with the start of CIIE, we saw that many countries along the Belt and Road Initiative have participated in, to great fanfare. In CIIE, and we're now on year 6. So, what do you see as what's changed, or what's gotten stronger, and how do people perceive this, or how do academics perceive this?
Yeah, I think it has a very good spillover effects. First, I think Shanghai has set up this so-called 6+365 like a platform, right? So, for many products. On the exhibit now, they can actually be on sale, be made available to people throughout the year. I think that's one really good progress after the expo. And also, I think now with the advantage of e-commerce in China, many of those companies now they are putting the products liked by people. They found out that from the expo now. They actually put those things on sale from Tmall, for example, Tmall International, or JD Global, whatever, right? So I think that's another way to further promote, right, the import of the products, to China. So I think all those things are very wonderful, and also I think a major change, I think, or improvement over the years is that we see more and more cultural activities alongside with the exhibition, right?
Could you elaborate on that? Because when we talk about cultural activities, that is so important in establishing more of an in-depth and intimate understanding of different cultures. What I've seen so far includes some of the intangible cultural heritage skills and crafts are being exhibited at the CIIE, and what are some of the other interesting cultural activities that have taken place?
Yes, yeah. Also, I think there are art auctions, for example, right?
Art auctions.
Yeah. So there's a big part of it now, right, for the exhibit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the spill effect that Professor Chen mentioned is very important because certainly CIIE has a lot of activities happening within the exhibition, but outside of the exhibition halls, there are a lot of other activities happening. A lot of regional government delegations will come. And for the U.S. side, we actually will have a delegation of mayors from different locations to come as well, coordinated by the Heartland Association. They bring dozens of mayors to visit China to understand what's going on. So essentially, you leverage the CIIE platform to do other things, right? Including seminars, conferences, outside of the exhibition hall. So those are also very, very important.
Yeah, I think there's a Hongqiao Forum, right, for example, alongside with the expo.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And also, in so many ways, in China, we tend to think that after 40 plus years of reform and opening up, and China as a country, also Shanghai as a great city, has welcomed numerous tourists, travelers, business people, students. I'll also just put in the brackets of global talent. And sometimes we take it for granted that, maybe everybody or those who have the interest have already visited China, if not visited Shanghai. But actually, in fact, that's so not true. And there's still so much room for growth. And also, when you get out there outside of China, and the world doesn't seem to really know it very well, nor does it understand Shanghai with, this atmosphere of openness, of welcoming people from all different backgrounds, upbringing, skin color, educational background, language, whatsoever. And Eric, could you tell us a little bit more about, how do you feel at this particular point in history that welcoming folks from all over the world and doing business here, I mean, how important is that? And really, what more can be done to get this ball rolling?
Very important topic. We're talking about people-to-people exchanges. Certainly during COVID, it was very difficult, right, for people to visit each other. But I think going forward, we'll love to see more visitors both ways. And I will use NYU Shanghai as a great example. It's a great institution, attracts great talent, students from around the world, including students from the U.S. and also from Chinese students. So this is a great way to educate the next generation that they are exposed to the entire world, right? We have many Chinese students going to the U.S. On average, we have about 300,000 Chinese students in the U.S. But the other way around, right now, we only have about 400 American students studying currently in China, and most of those are here at NYU Shanghai. So 300,000 versus 400. That's a huge gap. And we'll love to see more American students coming. And by visiting China, living in China, studying in China, they can really understand this country. It's not black and white. You need to have a very nuanced understanding of this market. So I congratulate Professor Chen and your colleagues on doing a great job in bringing young people together.
Yeah. And actually, we also should thank Shanghai for that, because we actually talked to students after they arrive here, those international students, and the number one kind of bright point of NYU Shanghai, a lot of people mention is the city, because they are so impressed by this place, right? So I think that's a very, very good selling point for many international students.
Yes, life in Shanghai just seems to be very convenient, regardless of where you're from. But if you speak the foreign language, or if that's your mother tongue, then it is relatively easy to go around, go to different places, and also enjoy the local infrastructure. And also just talking about like art galleries, about pubs, coffee houses, and all kinds of different entertainment venues. also the climate and everything. So it sounds like a great place to go to.
Right. So that's why I think CIIE is so important because we have students from more than 60 different countries. So those students now they are able to find food, find the stuff they used to have at their home country, right? I think that's very important for them. So I remember studying in the U.S., being able to find some Chinese sources, right? So that's very important for all the students studying there. The same thing is true here, I think.
Yes.
So that's why I think having this opportunity to import all those products, can really help to attract more foreign talents and foreign visits, to Shanghai.
Yes, and NYU is the first Chinese-American research university in the Chinese mainland. And you've mentioned Shanghai has its great appeal. Right. And what else do you think happens here that makes this a top choice for a lot of young people, around the world? And also on top of that, I want to ask both of you,
sure.
What is it about Shanghai that attracts global talent when it comes to business, work, and all these different things? And so
I think that's a very important and interesting question. I've thought about this a lot. So I think my view is that we attract so many American students and students from other countries. One important reason is that we don't really treat them as a foreign student, because so here they feel like they are not really strangers, they are not foreigners, right? Because we actually treat everybody the same, right? Chinese student, American student, they just feel like they just switch to another campus to study, right? Go to some place very naturally, so the way of life is quite normal to them. I think that is also the reason why Shanghai attracts so many foreigners, because when they are in Shanghai, they don't get special treatment. They just feel they can get into the everyday life of the city very easily, so they can get around without a lot of special attention to them. I think that actually is good.
Yes, and also for global talent, why is Shanghai, or what has Shanghai done right in that sense?
I think Shanghai enjoys many advantages, right? Certainly its history, very rich history. When you walk around the city, both sides of the river, you see the old part of the city so on the Bund, you see all the history, those buildings. I could add that, our recently California Governor Newsom walked on the Bund, and he was really impressed. And we had a meeting with him actually on the Bund, close to the Bund. And also recently when some senators visited Shanghai, and we took him also to the Bund, right? And the majority leader actually was really impressed by the skyline of the Pudong and then also Puxi, the Bund. So that's the history part of the city that's very, very unique. And then second of all, it's all the development over the years, right? You have the great infrastructure in Shanghai, not only on Puxi side, but also on the Pudong side now, right? As far as recently as in the 90s, you didn't have that skyline, but now you have that. So I think the entire infrastructure is very conducive to foreign companies, their participation in Shanghai. And I think those are kind of the hardware part of it, but I think more importantly is the software part, is the business climate here, is the business friendliness, the way that the local government supports the foreign investors. And I give them a lot of credit, and they stay closely in touch with the foreign business community, and particularly in recent months after China reopened. They want to make sure that we are getting the right support from the local government. So I think both hardware and software, and the software also includes the cultural part of it, right? You don't get bored in Shanghai, right? And I think I might be biased, but if you talk to a foreign executive, right, and asked her or him to say, where do you want to live in China, work and live in China, probably Shanghai will come up very often.
Yes, definitely. And also I would like to add that, people in Shanghai are really, really, kind to people around the world. So we actually make the city our classroom. So we have many community engagement program. We actually took students to visit different places in the city. We always got welcomed by the citizens in Shanghai. So I think that is also very important.
Yes, keep that in mind, everybody. Well, certainly with COVID, it disrupted the lives of, it feels like, everybody across the world and Shanghai as well. So now when we increasingly put the pandemic behind us or into a drawer somewhere, how do you attract more people, if not also get some of the folks who've left to come back maybe? I think, that's something I'm sure the local municipality government is coming up with some strategies. But if you were to advise them, if you're on speed dial, what would you say to those decision makers?
Well, indeed, we've lost some expatriates during the COVID period, and those people are probably gone because they have their family, kids, and so they're back home and in other countries. But we're targeting maybe a new generation of executives coming from the U.S. They have not had that experience before, and hopefully they will decide to spend a few years in China, because at the end of the day, we have very significant companies in China to be run. And as an executive, you love that kind of challenge, right? Not only running a company in the U.S., but running a company in China, which is a fast-growing, probably the most fastest-growing economy in the world. So that's a major challenge for them and also a major opportunity. The second kind of segment of our talent is maybe returnees. A lot of Chinese students who've gone to the U.S. and other places, study and work there, and they've got a lot of experience, and they're ready to come back and be part of this growth. So I think that's probably also very promising. We'll love to include more of those people coming back. And they bring a different profile because they understand China, they all understand the West, and they also have the language capability, both in Chinese and in English. So I think going forward, that generation of leaders, I'm talking about people who are originally from China but who've been exposed to the outside world, if they come back, that will contribute a lot to our management team here.
Yeah, and also I think Shanghai can do more in terms of culture activities. I know Shanghai has this field festival, has a lot of sports events, but maybe it can think about something to attract a lot of young people around the world with fun and cool things, like Genshin Festival, for example, the video game, right, the famous one. I know that they had some event in New York. So many people went there. My son actually went there. You had to wait for 8 hours to get into some events. So I think that would be very important, like Asian Chang'an, for example, right? That's not just the capital for consumption, but it's also really like a capital for culture exchange, right? So I think Shanghai can do more on that.
Yes, and I can personally align to that because there were a couple of photography exhibitions that I very much wanted to go to, and we're usually based in Beijing, and simply just couldn't get tickets in Shanghai, and it would be just too much of a commitment if your life and work is in Beijing. Anyway, at the time, I was very jealous of those fans who could visit these exhibitions here in Shanghai. Yes, indeed. And also when we talk about NYU Shanghai, which is a major institution, when we talk about promoting and supporting cross-cultural, cross-borders education, as well as, personal exchange as such, there's that well-known model in the U.S. where the innovation of a city or an area is driven by a few famous universities,
right.
and that's where the next generation of whiz kids are churned out. Do you see maybe a similar effect here in China with well-known universities such as NYU Shanghai? Can it offer this similar kind of contribution, if not exert an effect, to give innovation a push and also sort of have this beehive effect of helping the economy and, in different aspects in that area?
Yeah, so I think we're definitely helping Qiantan area. So now it's like one of the focal point in Qiantan. And also we opened our own museum here, art museum here, open to the public. We have many activities with companies, with organizations in Qiantan. But of course we can do more. But I think first we need to have more students and get more support from the government for the community engagement. Yeah, definitely. And also many other universities. There are many wonderful universities in Shanghai. I think both Eric and I, we actually graduate from Fudan. They can also participate in this type of things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, it's certainly a strength of Shanghai
Right.
with all these outstanding world-class
Right.
universities. And I'm very happy to see a joint venture like this, NYU Shanghai. That's very, very unique in China. You don't see too many examples like that. But I think having these great universities in the city, that is very important for the growth, the economic growth of that city, because those are the places you recruit your future talent from, right? And using Shenzhen, for instance, as an example, it's a fast-growing economy, but it doesn't have a long history in education. Yes. That's why Shenzhen is trying to set up many campuses of these famous universities from Beijing and Shanghai to set up their sub-campuses in Shenzhen, because they also realize the importance of having these great universities to train future talent.
Yes, and for a lot of graduates, of course, your university or your alma mater could become the springboard to something bigger or something that suits you better. But often a lot of people just stay in the same city because if you've been here for 2 years or 4 years or whatnot, and when you really enjoy the best of it, and this is where you probably call home, and if you can find a great job here and enjoy the all the fun things that the place has to offer, then that is also aligning your future with the city, with the future of that city. And you're seeing that here in Shanghai as well.
Yes, we do have undergraduate, after 4 years, they decide to stay in Shanghai, international students. And the Shanghai government actually provide them, a lot of helps on that. So I think, that is happening. Yeah,
and can these students find work with the companies that you represent?
For sure, member companies will love to. Actually, they come to NYU Shanghai to recruit.
Yes,
including American Chamber in Shanghai. We participated in some of their job fairs because that's a great school to train excellent talent. So we'd love to have those students with us.
Thank you so much. Actually, we did a survey on employer satisfaction. We got 100% satisfaction from the employers. Yeah, 100%. Yes.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, that's the best mark there is possible. Yeah, and when we talk about a business and also all this activity that's going on when CIIE hits town, what are some of the examples, if not lessons, you can offer us for all those American businesses who are looking for market access, potential collaboration with Chinese counterparts, and also just to get a foot in the door of the Chinese market? Do you have some advice, if not pearls of wisdom, for them?
certainly, we have two types of exhibitors, right? One is those who have already established a presence in China. Those are major corporations, and they already enjoy a brand recognition. So they're joining CRE mostly to continue to enhance their brand building, but also to launch new products, right? Using that platform, because it's such a unique platform and it gets a lot of attention from everybody. So that's a great place to launch a new product. So instead of launching a product in the US or in Paris or other places, you pick CIIE to launch a new product. You probably get a lot of effect out of that. So that's one type of companies. For newcomers, because it's they're not familiar with the China market. Frankly speaking, it's not easy to establish a presence for a small or medium-sized company. CIIE is a great place to start because it enjoys such a recognition by a lot of people in China, particularly provincial, local government officials. They all come here and visit different booths. So it's a great way to let your company be known to all these decision makers, including potential customers and partners. So that's a great entry point. The challenge is how to follow up. CIIE is there for about a week, less than a week. So you're there, that's great. You get exposure, that's great. But what's next? So you need to have a strategy to follow up. So building up relationships, that's important. And then follow up with these relationships. And you need to have a clear plan for the China market. What are you going to do here? This is a great platform, but you only have about a week to demonstrate your capabilities to a lot of people. So that's probably a challenge, is to follow up. But this is a great platform to start building relationships with potential partners.
Yes, and Professor Chen, you mentioned earlier about the 6+ 365 model, and if that gets implemented, which is providing the follow-up, have a platform that showcases the products, but you still need to have the product for people to touch and feel, if not understand, for the follow-up feedback as well as expansion of influence to happen.
Right. So I think there are some attempts about that. So the government has set up some, place like pavilion or bazaar, like in I think the Eastern Nanjing Road, right? So to showcase some product, mostly like a food-related product. I think probably we can do more on that.
Yeah.
So other thing I think like American companies, can do better is to try to get more insight about Chinese consumers. So I think, for many companies are not familiar with Chinese market, they might underestimate how sophisticated Chinese consumers are now. So, and their preference, their attitudes, it's really changing rapidly over years. So I think we really need to understand the Chinese consumer in order to get into the Chinese market. And if they need more help and more suggestions, probably they can come to us, like NYU Shanghai. So we have been here for a long time. Of course, also to AmCham.
Yeah, that is such a great point. When you look at facts and figures from this year, actually, there are around 289 global Fortune 500 companies who are involved with CIIE this year. But these are the big brands. If not, Chinese people already know about them. And how to get the smaller companies, medium-sized companies to have a chance. I think that is something where growth can come from, where opportunities can come from. And when you look at the Chinese consumer, you simply cannot use the same strategy where you use, let's say, in your home market, American market, or EU market to target, because, yes, I agree with you. The Chinese consumer can be quite fickle and stubborn with our own habits. And how do you deal with that? I guess that's where you come in, your role comes in handy.
doing your homework is very, very important before you jump in. China is a great market, potentially, but it's not for everybody. So you just have to know yourself first. Right. When I say know yourself, you know your products and services to be sure that they are applicable. And Professor Chen made a great point. You have to understand the consumers here also. And Chinese consumers are becoming quite sophisticated. So unlike 30 years ago, you can dump some products here, you could sell well, not anymore. So you have to make sure that your products, you do well research, good research, understand your consumers, and make sure your products are attractive to those consumers. So that's why we're working with trade association as the first stop, because these SMEs need help and professional help too. Certainly research institutions like NYU Shanghai, professional consultancies, and trade associations, we could all do our part to help these SMEs to come to China. And most people focus on Fortune 500 companies, right, because they're well known. But we know for a fact that the U.S. economy is driven by small and medium-sized companies. And many of those are not in China, not yet. So our hope is with our assistance, with the support of the U.S. government, we can bring more U.S. SMEs to China. Frankly, that will help more dialogues, more people-to-people exchanges. That will help improve bilateral political relationship as well.
Definitely. And one last question for today's discussion. That is, what do you hope to see, or what do you hope to get out of CIIE this time?
Well, so that's a very big question. So I think, personally, I would like to get probably more tickets so I can bring my family and friends to go there, right? So I think when problem of CIIE is that it mainly open for the business, right? So I think it would be nice to give more tickets to the citizens in Shanghai and the people living in Shanghai. I think that would be really good, and I'm sure this CIIE will be a hugely successful event, and I really hope we'll see more imported products from everywhere around the world, not just from the U.S., but also I think from underdeveloped country, developing country, to coming to China with different price levels that satisfy the need for all people in China and improve the lives here.
For us, certainly, immediately we'll love to see some successes in terms of marketing our products and services to the China market, sell some good products to Chinese consumers. But beyond that, I think there's something more important, more fundamental. Is this the first time that we're participating in the CIIE officially with an American pavilion, with the support of the U.S. government? And we know in the past few years it has not been easy. These two countries are struggling with each other, how to work together. And in the past few months, I think we've done well with senior visitors from both sides, and we're working towards an APEC summit in San Francisco in November, right after CIIE. Hopefully, the two heads of states can meet with each other in San Francisco. So CIIE will be a great preparation to build up that momentum for these two countries to work together. So that's just even beyond a trade show.
Yes.
And
Great.
That's a wrap.
Thank you.
And CIIE, or China International Import Expo, a convergence of ideas, culture, and business, and it goes beyond that, as you have listened to today's discussion. And do remember, CIIE is where innovation thrives and dreams take flight. Massive thanks to our esteemed guests, Professor Chen Yuxin, Dean of Business at NYU Shanghai, and Eric Zheng, President of the American Chamber of Commerce in Shanghai. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your insights and wisdom today. And to all of you, trailblazers and innovators out there, keep exploring this world with possibilities and keep fostering connections and keep listening to Round Table. I'm your host, Heyang. You can always find us on Apple Podcast at Round Table China. We'll see you next time.